Hi everyone, we're going to make a card with the new Floramusica Lilies Medley. We're also going to be using the new trio frame inspired sentiments, and we're making a shaped card, and we're going to be using the double debossed octagons and also the new elegant eyelet octagons as well. And with the dies, all the sizes are exactly the same. So if we took the largest of the double debossed octagon, if I just place it over top of the eyelet, you can see that the outside cutting edge is exactly the same on both die sets, and that means that you can do all of your matting and layering and have a mix of designs on your project. Put this to one side. So we're going to start with stamping the lily, and I've cut an octagon, and it's, let's see which one it is. We're talking about sizes here. I think it's this one. Yes. So counting in from the middle, it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th octagon. Check that again. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, the 8th size octagon, and that's going to be my kind of topper size. And I'm using my Stamp Perfect stamp press. What we're going to do is not actually stamp the whole thing. I'm going to, let's see, I've got some Scotch low tack tape here, and I'm going to see, I've actually got one that's stamped already. I'm going to see if I can pop it a little bit further over. So if I do eyeball this, see if I can get it straight. That's going on that side. And I'll just run another piece just in case, because I don't want to make a mess. And you can see that because I'm dealing with the shape, I've actually got a piece of copy paper underneath. And we'll pop my second one down there. Hopefully that's straight. Mind you, that's only a little thin border. I have to remember that I've only got that size there, so it's not going to that side. Let's just move it over a little bit because I actually want the outside. So we'll have it there. So we've got a bigger panel there. That's straightish. And pop my magnets down. And what I suggest to do, when I did my one that I'm going to work on, you can't actually see where the tape is. So if you run yourself a line with a pen, then we can actually see our lines. Hopefully that's not gone over. Now we know where we're going to stamp roughly. So we can take our lily. And these are beautiful. These are the montage kind of stamps, or collage stamps rather, and lots and lots of detail in here. So if we're looking at our line, so if we want our lily to be within it, we can pop it there. If we want our lily to be slightly over, so we're losing part of it, and I am going to play around with it, we'll do it like that. So I think I'm going to have it just coming outside the edge there. I'm going to make sure I've got my top going on there. Let's move my magnet. This is probably the most complicated bit of it, trying to get this straight. Bring my top over. And then we're going to ink up with VersaFine Clair, which is difficult because of the space. And we're using the VersaFine Clair because it gives you great detail, and also it's quite juicy, so it's very forgiving. Helps you stamp really well. But do remember, if you're having trouble stamping, you probably need a new ink pad. And the ink pads are available on my website, which is juliawattscrafts.co.uk, as are the stamps and the dies as well. I think that's inked. within an inch of its life. I'll bring that over and give it a good press. Obviously I've inked the whole lot because I just tend to do that, which is another good reason for making sure you've got tape all over the left hand side of the card. Give it a good press. Such detail in these. You'll see something different in the stamps every time you look at them. Let's have a look how we're going. That's perfect. Move that out of the way. Actually, before we do that, let's stamp it again, because I need to stamp a strip with the lilies again. I'll use my paper again, because obviously I've only got a little piece of card. Get it off. Yep. It's about there, I think. Of course, when you're only dealing with a small piece of card, it does mean that you've got nowhere to put your magnets. Dirty mark. Let's turn it over. 2 sides to a piece of card. Let's see whether that's in the right place. Yep, that'll do. Obviously I can't have that there, so we'll have another piece of tape just to hold it. So I'm not bothered about this side here. My lilies are on the right. Try and remember only to ink what I need to do. Good press. There we go, there's our lilies. Right, that's all my stamping done now. Take our, I've got inky fingers, get rid of this. So we've got our lovely panel, and I have got dirt all over it. That'll be inked. Right, so fortunately I've got another one that isn't all inky, and we'll try not to make that one inky. You just wipe my hands. Where's my mister? Right, let's see. Put those to one side, and we're bringing the one that we're going to work on. So we're going to work on this one, which is more or less looks the same actually. I mean, I wanted to place them in different places. The low tack tape, but I didn't end up doing so, but it's fine. Okay, so I want to ink that and give that some colour, but I want to leave these outside pieces completely plain. So we're going to go for some more of the low tack tape. And obviously I can't use the piece that I had before, because the piece I had before has got Versapine Clair on it, which won't dry on it because it's a non-porous surface. And let's see, I think that's about right. And the colours I've chosen are Bundled Sage and Milled Lavender. So we're just going to randomly add some of the ink. We go for Milled Lavender first. I'm using a Wood Wear Blend It tool, and you can get spare foams as well. This one I haven't actually used this one before. So I'm giving it a good old inking, and then we're just going to add some random amounts of ink. And this I actually stamped a couple of days ago, so the ink's lovely and dry. Doesn't look like much, but when we take the low tack tape away, you'll be able to see it. We'll have a little bit of the Bundled Sage as well. These pads are much better once you've used them a few times. I want to just bring in some around the edges, I think, of that. Okay, that's fine, that'll do. And then we'll take away our tape. So this is very, very simple card to do. I've got a little bit of ink there that I don't want. So just grab a piece of kitchen roll and we can just take it away by going in with our water brush and then dab it in it away, and nobody will ever know that it was there. Always clean up. See, any ink that you've got here you can pick onto some rice paper or some extra card. I'm liking that, that looks good. Okay, so my separate, remember the lilies I stamped separately on the panel? I've cut them out so that we can actually have these actually coloured in and looking quite bright. I mean, we could just put them on white if we wanted to make them pop. You can see that that one's coming outside of my panel. I quite like that, it gives a little bit of movement. But we're going to colour them in with just a little bit of the watercolour blending brush pens. And we're going to be using set 4. And these are the colours that come in set 4. And I tend to just kind of sort them out into an order that I've got them in my tin that makes sense to me. There are 4 sets now, and set 4 does come with stickers as well, and so you know exactly what's in each set. And then what you can do is sort each set or all of your colours out into colour families and pull in the stickers from each one and pop it on the end if you want to sort them out. Probably will do that at some point when I've got time. So I think what we're going to go for is we're going to go for let's see, we'll probably go for that one. And one of the greens, I'll probably go for the lighter green, actually, that one there. So we'll pull those pens out of my kit. So the purple one is before the red, that's that one. And then we want my first green one, that one. And you do get a couple of water brushes in the kit. So we've got a fine tip and a broad tip in this particular set. There's different water brushes in each of the sets. Bring in my blending mat just so I can see what I'm doing, because I don't want a lot of colour. So we do a little bit of the we'll do the purple first. Pop a little bit onto my blending mat and just pick some up. This is a water brush from set 3, and I'm just going to add a little bit of colour down here. And then bring it out, really water it down so that it's quite pale. And then pick a tiny bit up here to go in this one. And squeeze the water, get it really coming out so it's really pale. And then we go for the green. I'm not really sure what these lilies look like, to be quite honest. They can look like however you want them to. I think we probably ought to, actually thinking about it, we probably ought to have purple down here and just green at the very base. So we take some purple down here and then pull them both out. Just make it up as I go along, as you do. And then we'll have a little bit of green just at the base. And then going to our actual piece here, we'll extend that green down the stem. Do a little bit more. You can go direct with the pens, but I don't want it that dark. Just so it doesn't look like the lilies are floating. Now, if you're concerned about this sort of double ridge that you've got around here, I quite like that. But if you're concerned about that, then the way to do it is to do all your stamping and inking and everything first, and then do your die cutting second. But do beware that if the ink isn't dry, it will transfer to your die cutting machine mats. So you might want to give your mats a little bit of a wipe. I think, oh, we need to do that little bit as well, don't we? Have that little bit there. We're going to have that green as well. Okay. I think that's passable. Don't stress about your colouring in. Okay, so what I've gone ahead and done is I have cut the next size of the eyelet octagons out of, this is milled lavender, Sentimentally Yours, not milled lavender, Lavender Meadow. Milled lavender is the oxide, Lavender Meadow is the card. So I've cut that out of there, so that's going to go on there. Now I haven't, because I hadn't decided what I wanted to do, I haven't got any Olive Grove cards, so it's cut already, and I didn't want my card to be really big. So what we're going to do is, just to bring in that kind of sagey colour, I'm just going to add a little bit of the bundled sage oxide around the edges of our eyelet piece. It'll only be very subtle, but the whole card's quite subtle anyway. 8 sides to go around. I mean, you could obviously do the inking technique where you know, add a little bit more and pop it down on your mat, but I only want it subtle. I don't want to obliterate the lavender colour of the card. So we're just touching the edges. So that's that layer. So that's going to be glued on there. So we'll do that right now. And the glue I'm using is the Sentimentally Yours Premium PVA. I do tend to go for the 120mm, which is the biggest size, just because I know that I've always got glue on my desk if I've got the big one. It's really easy to squeeze the bottle, which I know is only a kind of a small thing, but it does mean that if you have any sort of dexterity problems, or if you're doing loads of work, you're not going to get an aching hand just because you're using your glue. And it doesn't tend to bung up very often, actually. It's not very often I have to take a pin to it, and you do manage to get right to the bottom and use all of it, so that's a plus as well. I think that's straight-ish. Give it a good press. Then for my card blank, I've actually taken the next size of the double debossed octagon, and I've cut it out of the card twice. Oh, I didn't tell you, actually, this is a super smooth card I was working on, the watercolour card. And so I've cut the same card out twice, and then with my hoogie board or scoring board, whatever board you've got, I've scored 1 centimetre in from one side here. This is going to make my card blank. I'm going to glue these two pieces together. And just let them set while we do something else. Try and get my ends nice and neat. So just leave that for a couple of minutes, or as long as you can, before you actually bend it. Let's do our sentiment. So using my same piece of card, or same colour card as I had before, the Lavender Meadow, I'm going to my trio frame inspired sentiments, and lilies, I think, well, they're used for loads of occasions, aren't they? These, I think these are canna lilies. These look gorgeous in bouquets for brides. But also lilies are quite often used for sympathy cards as well. So that's what we're not actually doing sympathy as such, but what we're going to do is actually stamp Be Strong, I think. So we've got the bee. I mean, this set's great because you've got freedom to, and you do loads of things. Freedom to create, to colour, to be arty, to be bold, to be brave, to be happy, to love, all that sort of stuff. So it's really good and really thought-provoking sentiments that you've got on here. So there's my bee. Now where's my strong? There it is at the bottom. Both of these on a block. These are the circle blocks from Sentimentally Yours. And again, we're going to stamp them with the Nocturne Versifying Clay. Just like I say, just be careful with this because it does take a while to dry. And if I would suggest that you either stamp them a day or two before you want to use them, or you can take your heat gun to it, or you can just add embossing powder and heat set. So there's a few ways around it, as always. Doesn't matter that this bee is upside down, because obviously we're going to cut it out. Squeaky desk. There we go, look at that. And these frames are great because trio frame means that you've got the frame that goes round there, then you've got this sort of solid frame here, that's number 2, then the third frame is here on the outside. If you cut this out, leaving a little border, you've actually put yourself 4 frames. If you then pop this onto another piece of card, a different colour, and cut that out with a small frame, then you've got 5 frames. So you can do whatever you want to. You don't have to cut all these 3 frames out. You can actually just cut it around there. So you've only got 1 frame, or cut it around the solid one. So you've got 2 frames, whatever you want to. I like to cut them out with 3 frames. So I've got mine cut out already, and I've got a tiny little border going around the edge, and I find that easier than actually cutting exactly on the line, because if you make a mistake you're going to cut through the line, but if you leave yourself a little border, nobody can actually tell whether you've actually cut a thinner border or a fatter border. You kind of get away with it. We're going to add a little bit of the bundled sage to the edges, and that's going to give me like a faux mat look. It gives the illusion that you've actually matted it onto a different colour card, because I've left that small border around the edge. Obviously it's more prominent if you've got white card that you've stamped onto. I like these finishing touches. I find these very relaxing. And obviously you can say whatever you want to. You could make your card up and not put anything on it and add your sentiment when you need it. Right, so now we're ready to actually finish our card. So we've got our fold, because we've scored it, so our card stands up beautifully. Obviously when you score it, make sure you're actually scoring it down the edge rather than across on an angle, because it's not going to obviously stand up if it's on an angle. I know it's obvious, but you know, nice to say it. And obviously make sure you know which way it's opening when you're actually sticking your front on. So you can actually do that flat, but I'm actually going to pop foam tape on it because I like a little bit of dimension on my cards. I think that a little bit of dimension makes things look a little bit more expensive, especially if you're selling your cards. Don't forget, on the Sentimentally Yours, as long as you've handmade something, then you're free to sell. There's a full angel policy on it. And the foam tape I'm using is 2mm wood wear foam tape, which again is available on my website. one. Yeah, we're all good. Check that my opening is right. And pop that down. Okay, and then we're going to glue our lilies in place. Don't forget that when you're doing things like watercolour, which obviously we have done, again, it doesn't have to be 100% perfect. It's fine if you see a few watermarks, because it's watercolour. You know, you can get away with loads. You can say, oh, well, it's watercolour, it's fine. I've gone out the lines, it's fine, it's watercolour. There we go, look at that. It's snap pop. It's beautiful. It's a they're stunning stamps, they really are. I'm hoping that I'll find time to make more videos of them. I don't know, we're always short of time, unfortunately, as demonstrators, but I can see myself going back to these stamps. I mean, unfortunately, they won't be around forever to purchase, because, you know, once the stock's gone, that's it, then we're on to the next thing. But so I would suggest that you know, don't put them on a wish list just to get them. Doesn't that look fantastic? And I think because I can't decide whether to foam tape these or whether to just stick them on. I think we just glue these on because my lilies are nice and flat. I'm really pleased with this. It's like it is a clean and simple card, really, because you've got those nice white spaces. Now, when you line these up, see if I can get them straight. Try and line them up with that frame there. See my pointing there? That frame there. I'll get a pen. So this one. That's your straight line. Doesn't have to be, though, because you can get away with it. You know, if it's slightly on the wonk, nobody will be able to tell because of the fact that you've got your trio frames. And then we're going to have strong here, I think. Just like that. So this can be uplifting, you know, somebody's going through a bad time, they may well have lost somebody, or they may be ill, or, you know, I don't know, maybe they've lost their job, whatever. It's just a really nice card to send, and you can pop yourself a verse in there if you want to. There's lots of verses that Sentimentally Yours do, which very lovely words in there, or just a personal message that you write. So there we are. There's our card all finished. Really simple. Obviously, you can do the same sort of thing with all of the stamps that are in the Floramusica range. I hope you enjoyed this, and don't forget you can find all the products on my website, juliawattscrafts.co.uk. Thanks for watching.